Hi, this is Glenn Loury. This clip is taken from a conversation I recently posted at my Patreon page. The full episode will be available for free in a few days, but if you want to see it now and support the show, please go to patreon.com/Glenn Show. That's patreon.com/Glenn Show. Thanks.
If you could try to articulate as someone who's like looking at this, a young kid from Chicago, what is so beautiful to you about that? Does it make life legible in a way? Does it provide a guidebook for policymakers? It might be hard to articulate, but you see what I'm trying to get at.
I do. You mentioned Hayek, and I can remember reading The Road to Serfdom when I was taking a philosophy course as an undergraduate. And I can remember becoming aware of the Hayekian argument about information, about the decentralization of information. This is why do markets organize without there being any planner at the center of things, social affairs, economic affairs, in a way that we have reason to think is more or less efficient, particularly as compared to the consequences of centrally directed resource allocation by a planner or a commissar or somebody at the center of a political bureaucracy. And the argument is about the fact that information is local, that there are, millions of moving parts in an economy, and that individual, the farmer, the tradesman, the shopkeeper, the laborer, the manufacturer, the fellow who's engaging in logistics and transportation, all of these different parts somehow have to fit together in a way that promotes efficiency. Well, what is efficiency? I mean, what do I mean by that? How would I represent that? Why do prices, although in an idealized way, because you're imagining perfect competition, you're having to make assumptions. The assumptions don't necessarily hold in the real world. This is an inescapable part of doing anything formal in terms of an analysis. You have to reduce a infinitely complex reality to a set of manageable relationships that you can then subject to quantitative study. But why does it work when it works? When markets work, why do they work? I can remember the epiphany of seeing this. Paul Samuelson, a couple of years later when I got to graduate school, put it this way. He says, two things kissing the same thing have to be kissing each other. He invites you to imagine a piece of paper, and he invites you to imagine a curve that's just gracing the piece of paper on one side and another curve that's just gracing that piece of paper on the other side. And if they're kissing the same thing at the same spot, they have to be kissing each other. Well, translation. One of those curves represents production possibilities that are feasible for the economy to produce. Another of those curves represents consumption orientation. What are the bundles of goods that would make consumers better off? Efficiency is when it's not possible to get more of the things that make people better off, given what's feasible to produce. Prices are the piece of paper that is the hyperplane, we would say in technical language, separating production possibilities from bundles of outcomes that are more desirable by consumers. Firms are trying to maximize their profits, and that's why the price plane is tangent to the production possibility set. Consumers are trying to maximize utility. That's why the upper contour set, as we would say, of bundles of goods that are preferred is tangent to the same price line. At the same point, it's because we're in equilibrium, and what's being produced has got to be balanced by what's being consumed, at least over the longer run. And the theorem is that efficiency, defined by not being able to get more out of consumption given what's feasible to produce, is realized when producers try to maximize relative to the same prices that consumers are trying to optimize. This is gorgeous. This is like wonderful. And I don't care that it's not absolutely a replica of real world transactions. It's a close enough approximation to an idealized representation of those that you get profound insight out of that. Charlie Koopmans, another Nobel laureate, another one of this generation of scholars who were inventing linear programming and convex analysis and applying it to economics. He had a little book called 3 Essays on the State of Economic Science. And what I just got through saying somewhat clumsily, he reduces to the most beautiful, elegant, precise prose / mathematical presentation. I loved that book. I carried it around in my backpack for years because and I'm just giving one example of insights of that sort. So call it a fetish about a kind of formalism. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Karl Marx's engagement with, the great questions of political economy and power and exploitation and modernization and whatnot. No, it was historically sterile. It didn't have texture. It wouldn't have satisfied a historian or a historically oriented sociologist or a political theorist or whatever. But there had to be a piece of the truth in there. And the thing was that you could see exactly why it was true. And I just found that overwhelmingly compelling.